Hey guys, Conor Orr here from the MMQB. The Hard Bowl is over, so let's talk about Week 12 Power Rankings just posted on SI.com and the MMQB. At number 2 this week, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. This has been a long winning streak ever since that Cleveland game. Nick Sirianni shaving his head, yelling at fans. Everybody thought it was over, and all of a sudden they got on this roll. And yes, Vic Fangio's defense has been unbelievable, but here's the other secret component to this, which really interests me. Saquon Barkley's on a roll in part because the Eagles have not played one of the league's top 10 rushing defenses in terms of DVOA. Yes, it's still hard to run the ball in the NFL, no matter what team you're playing against, but the Eagles are really laying it on thick here with Barkley, and I think we might be envisioning something a little bit bigger than what's going on at this moment, but that's why they're peaking, in my mind at least, and I reserve the right to change my mind. They have some tough teams coming up on the schedule. Baltimore's secondary is not good, but that front is still tough to deal with and to contend with, and Baltimore's secondary actually played pretty well against Chargers this week. And you have the Steelers also coming down the pike, so I reserve the right to change my mind about Philly, but at this point in time, I think if they were to play a lot of the other teams in the NFL on neutral ground, I like the Eagles just because they are rolling at this point. Jalen Hurts seems to be playing a little bit more confident. And again, that Vic Fangio defense looks awesome over the last few weeks. Jalen Carter is unblockable. Another couple teams that I think might raise some eyebrows in the power rankings this week. At 11 and 12, I have the Buccaneers and the Dolphins. Neither of those teams have winning records, but I'm kind of taking a long position in these two teams, which is why they've raised up in the power rankings a little bit. Both of these teams throttled bad opponents in the Week 12, right? So we had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers blowing out the New York Giants 30-7, and then you had the Miami Dolphins blowing out the New England Patriots 34-15. What I liked about the Miami Dolphins victory, and part of the reason I'm raising them up here, is Chop Robinson was super active in this game. The Patriots tried to double him almost the entire game, couldn't do it. He was putting a lot of pressure on Drake May, who's hard. He's kind of unflappable, right? And so he changed that game, and if the Miami Dolphins have more of a consistent pass rush, they're going to change the projectile of their future. I mean, I think that they could be a team that challenges Green Bay this weekend. That's the big game in Lambeau. That changes everything if the Dolphins manage to win that one. And Tampa Bay, they have the really easy part of their schedule coming up. We have the Panthers, we have the Raiders, we have a lot of teams that are beatable. I have said all along, even when they got on their losing streak after they lost Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, they are going to catch the Atlanta Falcons. I still believe that. I still think they are coming. And another team we want to talk about here, way down at the bottom of the list now. New York Giants are contending, but not quite the worst team in the NFL. But let's talk about that for a second. If you're a Giants fan or you're a Raiders fan, which team, which future looks better to you at this point in time? The Giants do have some really good young players. That secondary played sneaky well in stretches against the Buccaneers on Sunday, but you don't have a quarterback. You don't have a quarterback of the future. There's no project. Tommy DeVito did not look good. He couldn't get the ball out of his hands against Tampa Bay. And you know that you're probably going to end up just slightly out of contention to draft one this year. And even if you do you like the 2024 class enough to get someone to start over with? Is there someone there? Do you hold on to your head coach? All that kind of stuff. With Las Vegas, it seems pretty cut and dry, right? This is not a good football team right now. The Raiders have struggled throughout the back end of the season. Gardner Minshew has now broken his collarbone. We're going back to Desmond Ridder, who's very turnover prone. I don't see a lot of wins left on that schedule. They have the Black Friday game against the Chiefs coming up here this week, so we'll see what happens. But I think that it's maybe be a little bit more comforting if you're a Raiders fan at this point, because you know it's going to happen, right? You know that you might end up at the top end of the draft. You know you might end up with a number 1 overall pick, and you know you might end up with a new coach. I don't think that there's that many questions really when you look into it. So we'll see. This is a big weekend again for the Miami Dolphins, for all these teams in the power rankings, to see where they get in position for next week, how they get themselves into playoff position. So check back with MMQB and SI.com for the next one.